Yeah, we're good. Yeah, you can
You
see.
didn't want to
Okay,
forget
good.
this week, I guess.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. Oh, oh, oh. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्ततामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. So we are on the third lecture for this chapter of 9 in Bhagavad Gita. And we have seen that from chapter 7 onwards, Lord Krishna is actually almost starting a new religion. What do I mean by that, new religion? Essentially, he's now really exposing his student Arjuna to a bigger and expansive way of looking at himself, you know. So he actually starts to explain about, well, Arjuna, you know what knowledge is, but I'm not sure if you know exactly what wisdom is. So that's how he starts off as a hook in chapter 7 with these words jnanam and vijnanam. So jnanam, as Arjuna has, so far kind of understood, is really the knowledge, and he thinks, he's smart, he knows what knowledge is, and so one second. Sridharji is looking out for me, so he makes sure that I've recorded, and it is getting recorded, right? You can see that. Okay, good. So, so jnanam is something that Arjuna knows, but he hasn't yet understood the practical implication of what jnanam means, and that is a vijnanam. And you will see this chapter, and this is why we are actually, yeah.
One second. How do we know it's recording? It says custom live streaming service.
Correct. I think that means it is getting recorded.
You're sure?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is, so we've understood kind of what jnanam is, but for vijnanam, and this is the big gap for all of us, right? It is a big gap even for us if you forget about spiritual knowledge, even in our secular knowledge, right? When we go to school, when we say thermodynamics, in thermodynamics, one of the classic thing is, pressure and volume are, how are they connected with it? Or if you take the laws of motion, laws of motion, of Newton's law of motion. Every action is an equal and opposite reaction. So they all sound very good on paper, but unless I really think through what it means, and then I see it in experience, I will never ever understand what that law really means. This is in secular knowledge. So you can imagine for spiritual knowledge, it requires much, much more, what should I say, much more internalization, much more after I have read something, I have to think about it even more and put that into practice. So this is why this chapter 9 is like one of the most beautiful chapters. I know I keep saying that every chapter is beautiful. Yes, they are beautiful in its own way. But chapter 9 is very, very powerful. And especially the shlokas that we're going to come to, which is shlokas 4 and 5, which we'll go into it. But this is a place where in chapter 9, I'll be spending a little more time. And for this, the qualification of the seeker is very, very important. So we see that in this chapter, in the beginning itself, in the very first shloka itself, Arjuna is given this great qualification, not qualification, or he's given this great adjective of Anusuya, which is a very important characteristic which is needed in order for us to progress, as I said, not just in spiritual, but also in material world. There has to be that unquestioning, unwavering faith. And in order for that faith to happen, for anything to happen, I need to make sure that my mind is clear and is ready to embrace what is coming in front of me. So especially for things like, when we say in the regular parlance, how do I take more risk? In order for me to take more risk, I should not have any doubts. And that's the word which is Anusuya. Asuya means somebody who has doubts. Anasuya is somebody who has absolutely no doubts. When I don't have any doubts in my mind, I will be able to embrace the knowledge. And that embracing of the knowledge requires a lot of faith. Now, that's the part that today I want to spend some time to discuss it. Okay, so we will do that, and then we go to the shlokas 4 and 5, because shlokas 4 and 5 needs that Shraddha. So we will spend some time and I think I'd given you a little bit of a homework assignment on Shraddha part of it. But before we come to Shraddha, we'll just quickly review this chapter, the first shlokas 1 and 2, where we said in shloka 1, Krishna actually tells Arjuna that I'm going to introduce you to this greatest secret. And again, what is that secret? We said the secret is something which is the biggest secret, or the most important secret which anybody can think of. And that's why he calls it Guhyatamam, which is the most superlative of secrets. And he says, again, combining that knowledge with the practical wisdom, you will be able to get it. You will just get it, what I'm trying to say. And then he says, what is the special result of this knowledge? First of all, is that because of the subtlety of the knowledge. Again, the subtlety of the knowledge is something, by that we mean that it is not something that I can easily get it. It's not like a birthday gift or a Christmas gift or anything which I can touch, feel, and everything, but it is beyond the 5 senses. And that is why it's extremely subtle. And why is it very, very important is, it is going to give me so much of happiness, that happiness which is me, my own, and for which I'm not dependent on the external world. So that is the freedom from all sorrow. So that knowledge is what I'm getting it. And so that is why he calls that as the royal science or royal secret, because it is, when we say royal science, the focus on that is it is the it's the best science that one can ever hope to get. It's the bestest knowledge that we can ever hope to get. So that is what he meant. And it is a pavitram indicating that it is by this knowledge, one is completely purified. Pavitram, it's it's the most purifying knowledge. And then it is also Uttamam, it's the most supreme knowledge. And Pratyaksha Dharmyam, so Pratyaksha Avagamam meaning that it is so close to me that I can easily perceive it. So Pratyaksha typically would mean that, it is seen. But here it is like directly one can get it. So it's that easy to get it. And that's why he says, Susukam, it's very easy. It brings great joy. And it's dharmyam because it is, on one hand, it is dharma compliant, like I said here, dharma compliant, indicating that you don't have to do anything beyond what you're not capable of. But it is also, it is dharma by itself. So if I have this knowledge, then I'm fulfilling my objective of being a human being. Human being is the most, what is that? It's the highest form of any living organism. And in that sense, it is completely dharma, and the characteristic of a human being is that it is, the isness of a human being is somebody who protects everyone, who shows compassion, who shows love. And that is how the most beautiful of all that knowledge. And ultimately, once I get it, I don't have any fear of losing it because, there cannot be anything better than this. So he's really, really describing the result or the fruit of something that we all would love to have it. So then in Shloka 3, which is where we're going to have this discussion on Shraddha, so the question may come is, so what if I don't want it? Now, who would really say that, right? Who would say when somebody's been told that you're being given such a wonderful gift, why would I even refuse it? So this is where in Shloka number 3, we saw last time, he says that only those people who do not even know this knowledge. Okay. Now, how would they not know it? The only way they would not know it is because, I remember this one discussion we had in one of our study groups, a long time ago. This was, we had just come to Michigan and the West Bloomfield study group had just started. And Ashok was, the study group moderator at that time in that group. And I remember Sushma, she had asked, so, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Why can't just people get it? This is so nice. I really want to go out and tell everyone come to Banavihar, come to study groups. This is the best thing you can do and everything. And soon, you can imagine when you go and talk about this, you won't become the most popular person. You'll actually become the most unpopular person. I'm just joking about this. But what I'm saying is people immediately think, oh my God, somebody very religious is coming forward to telling me this. But in reality, what we're trying to say is, we're trying to tell people, yes, I'm sure you're getting this great, it's like you're going to the mall. If you can one can get whatever we want in, say, Myers, but we can also get something even better in, say, Neiman Marcus. I don't know if the store still exists or not. I know they were going out of business even then, but what I mean is maybe Saks Fifth Avenue, something like that, what will people say when you tell them that, you have the best thing in Saks Fifth Avenue? Of course, first thing they're going to say is, what, I really cannot afford it. So that's why I don't go there. But the point is, they have not yet tried their best to get to something which is in Saks Fifth Avenue, right? You have to work hard to get that kind of money in order to afford something. So most people don't even try it. Okay? They don't have faith in themselves. So this is why this is an important shloka from that point is most people actually while away their time or while away their faith in things which are very, very small. We are very happy with if I get this small thing and I'm just totally content. I don't want to try myself further. So we live in a world where small material things which I can feel, touch, things, I'm okay with it. I don't want to spend the time on something which is subtle. And that is why this whole flow of thought, which is so beautifully developed in this chapter 9, is something which I cannot see, I don't want to try. And this is, but if I believe in this, I will see that something that I cannot see, something which I cannot touch, is actually that which is making this world function. Okay? But that is something that most people don't get it. And that is why Ashrata Dhana Purushaha, persons without any faith in this path of dharma, they will never ever get it. So then the question is, what is it that will make them get it? And this is what we just started to discuss as the path, that what they will get it, or what is that quality which will help them get to that next level of getting that knowledge, which is the greatest gift that they can give themselves, and which is not easily perceivable, is this aspect of Shraddha or faith. So last week, when we finished, I had just asked you, how would you define this word Shraddha based on everything that we have said so far, or based on what you know? And I know Meena Shankar, she sent me a couple of notes. If Meena is there, maybe Meena, I can ask you to share.
Yeah. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
In layman's word, Shraddha, like the yearly Shraddham that we do, for our ancestors, the name itself implies Shraddham, which means if you do with utmost Shraddha, then definitely our ancestors are satisfied and they bless us. So the name itself implies Shraddha, means Shraddham. So when you have to do a Shraddham, you have to do with utmost Shraddha. Only then, our ancestors and all will be satisfied. That's number one. And in simple things, if you say anything you do, for example, office work or any cooking or anything, only if you start anything with Shraddha only, that will come out really good. Otherwise, definitely there is some negative things in that. And also I can refer to chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna says, chapter 4, 39th sloka. It says, Shraddha valnapate jnanam tatpara samyadendriyaha jnanam laptva baram shantim achirenati gacchati. See, what he says, one who is complete focus on attaining his self-knowledge, like who puts faith, focus, and control on gaining a self-knowledge, such a person attains the knowledge and attains ultimate peace. I think that's the meaning of that slogan, if I'm correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just wanted to share it because when I was going through this, you said, some reference about Shraddha. Then I
Correct.
found Loka in chapter 4. He already has said what is Shraddha,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So beautiful sharing. Thank you, Meena.
Thank you.
Going back to the word Shraddham, what you were saying, right? And how Shraddha can be connected to Shraddham. So this is a ritual that we have in our tradition, that when somebody passes on, we honor them, we think about them, and we do the necessary prachitam, everything, Why do we do that? The person is gone. Now, somebody who doesn't have any faith in the subtle aspect, which is what we're talking about, they're gone. But we believe that they are continuing to live in their subtle self. So we are doing this puja. So that's why it is Shraddham, because we have the complete faith in that subtlety of the being which has departed, which has only given up its mortal remains, or the gross body. So that is one aspect of it, what you had rightly said about Shraddha. Anybody else?
Hariyom, and also I had asked you a question about why in Mahalakshmi Ashtotra, there's a name for Mahalakshmi as Shraddha. I couldn't get that. I don't know
Correct. I actually also talked, we had a Lakshmi Narayan Puja, and I did ask one of the priests about why particularly Shraddha. He couldn't give me a proper answer, so I don't want to say it. Let me think through a little more and come up with something more deeper than what he had said,
Okay.
So for next week, I'll try to ask a couple of other people here in the ashram itself.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Go ahead, Geeta.
Can Shraddha be said as complete dedication?
Yes, at the level of performance, it leads to a complete dedication. Because again, going back, and this is why this word Shraddha, which has been introduced in Shloka 3, ties very well with Shloka 1, where Arjuna is called as Anusuya, right? Anusuya is somebody who has absolutely no doubts. So when I don't have any doubts, I am completely dedicated. If I have a doubt, suppose, somebody's asking me, let's say, Bharatiya temple, somebody's asked me to come and do a particular job of cleaning the altar or something, and I do it. I have 10 other things going on in my mind, and I'm thinking, why am I doing this? I really don't believe in the idol or something like that. Then automatically my dedication to the duty of doing it suffers, right? So that dedication is 100% only when my mind is pure and I have no doubts in what work I'm doing. So that makes my job, I'm dedicated to my job. So that dedication at that level is needed even in our day-to-day job, right? So even in my day-to-day job, when I take up a position in a company, I have to have the Shraddha that this company is doing well. My boss, is giving me the right things for me to do,
So
and yeah, go ahead.
Shraddha can be connected to two different activities. One is our level, office level or at normal level. And the other one, which Meena was explaining, is in a different level. Can I say that way? Or both are same?
They are both same in the way you have said it. Ultimately, that 100% dedication is needed for both material and spiritual worlds.
Yes, it is
in
actually.
the spiritual world, it becomes even more difficult because I cannot see what I'm going to get, or, I just have to have the faith that it is going to get somewhere. But it is not blind faith. And I have a few things where I will show it. But Meena, you wanted to say something?
No. I was replying to Geeta. I said, yes, it is all the same. Even simple things, for example, cooking or doing an office job, anything you need Shraddha. And if you have to do and Shradham, you need Shraddha. Or anything spiritual, anything from simple things to even the spiritual level, everything is the same. Only thing is we have to have the Shraddha. Only then you can attain whatever is the goal that you want. Correct?
So it's complete dedication, no matter what you do.
Yes.
But with understanding, that is also very important. One has to have, and this is why it is a very, I have some things which I wanted to share here. So, like Meena, when she explained about Shraddhavan Dabate Jnanam, that shloka, it is in Bhagavad Gita, actually, the word Shraddha itself, comes about 15 times, all the way from chapter 3 to chapter 18. Meena gave the shloka from chapter 4, 39 shloka. So here, I specifically brought this shloka of, Satvanurupa Sarvasya Shraddha Bhavati Bharata Shraddham Mayo Ayam Purushaha Yo Jat Shridhash Sa Eva Saha. So here he talks about, now one may say, so, okay, we are saying that faith is very important, but does that mean that only few people have that 100% dedication? So he's saying, no, not really. Everybody has faith, but it depends upon what kind of faith. Okay. So in these later chapters, you will see Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic coming into play. The type of gunas which colors the faith. Okay. For example, somebody who has tamasic shraddha, that person has not even thought through what the person is doing it when he's coming to when he or she is trying to do some work. The person has a very different idea of what he or she is going to get or anything. So with that in mind, they do the work. Whereas Rajasic Shraddha is something that, okay, if I do this, or I'm doing this faith, or it's kind of a blind faith. Rajasic Shraddha is like a blind faith. Okay, somebody told me to do this, I will just do it, and I'm going to get something out of it. Sattvic Shraddha is the intelligent questioning, intelligent questioning of something and understanding what it is. So this is why I thought, we spend a little bit of time as what do we mean by blind faith versus Shraddha versus blind belief. So let's call it blind belief versus faith. So blind belief is somebody who just blindly accepts and just does it. They really don't question as to the aspect of it. Okay. So, for example, in blind belief, one can just continue to do, like, for example, you join this job or whatever, and you continue to do whatever you have to do, but you never really are putting your heart and soul into it and working on the job. If we put our heart and soul and I'm working, then what happens is one can actually, if something is not going wrong, because sometimes some people may say, well, my boss told me to do it, I did it, okay? But the boss may say something, but if I don't do it with questioning that aspect of why I'm doing it, I may actually end up in trouble if something goes wrong in a plant. Let's say, I'm working for a chemical company and my boss tells me that I have to do this particular reaction or whatever. But if I don't think through it and it leads to some serious consequences, that is all because of my blind belief in what was told to me. But if I really were to question things, if I have that Shraddha, okay, then I will actually question what I'm doing and improve on the process and make sure that doesn't lead to any kind of disaster. So it is a kind of an intellectual inquiry where I exercise my ability to question things. And by questioning things, it leads to a firm conviction. And that firm conviction actually becomes a kind of a law for myself. Okay? So that is really what we're talking about here. So it's a very, very, it's something that the faith becomes strong after a lot of churning within my own self. So that is why here I have the Shraddha of faith is trust pending that self-discovery. And this, of course, self-discovery, I have put it more from a point of spirituality, but it works even in my own personal life, in whatever the actions that I do on a regular basis. Okay. So,
and we say it's complete dedication with understanding.
Complete dedication with understanding. Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me. So you said the key word is achire nati gachati. So I
Right.
think, I don't know whether I'm correct. So achire nati gachati means very soon the person will attain the self-knowledge. So is that the reason why it's a keyword, or there is some other reason to that?
Yeah, correct. So achirena gachati, the reason for me, I like that word in that particular shloka, which is Shraddhavan Labhate Jnanam, I think I have the shloka also here. And it says that when somebody has, and it goes back to what Gita also said, that 100% dedication. When I have, when my mind, for example, has been purified, but again, there is a lot of work that goes on behind that, okay? What do we mean by purification of the mind, right? So we have all these practices in our spiritual journey by which when I purify my mind and I have that absolute Shraddha, and here the word Shraddhavan Labhate Jnanam is used more from attaining that subtle knowledge. When I do that, what happens is I get self-realization. That is what achirena digachati. Very easily it happens and immediately that happens. So for me, that was a very powerful word which says that ultimately the onus is upon myself. The minute I cleanse myself, I can achieve that absolute knowledge, which is the greatest of all gifts that I can give for myself. It can happen just like that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for explaining.
Yeah, no problem. And so, like I said, this Shraddha is something that, like in common day, I'm sure you must have read some of these stories also. It's, I always remember, and I think we discussed about this Gita when in our study group as well. Maybe, I'm not sure if it is a first study group or the second one in Shiva's house, which is Simhan's house. When we were discussing about the fact that, Shraddha is actually one of the Shat Sampatti, the 6 values, Shama, Dama, Uparati, Samadhana, Mumuksh, all these is part of that. And in that, this word Shraddha we had discussed for, I was giving some examples, I remember, about the story of this young girl, young kid, and she's traveling in the plane, and she's sitting in the first class cabin. Actually, she's only about 8-year-old or something, and next to her there is this big executive, and as they are traveling, as they're flying in the flight, what happens is at one point, the flight goes through a lot of turbulence. And this executive gets so worried, he is like, oh my God, why is this happening and all this? And he really thinks, something's going to happen to the plane. But this kid, she's just calmly playing on her, she has some crossword puzzle or something, and she's just doing it. And after some time, of course, this executive is watching this kid, and is wondering, how come this kid is so calm? And after some time, when the flight reaches a point where there's no turbulence, he starts to talk to the girl and asks, how come you didn't, you're not agitated? So the kid says, why? Why should I get agitated? It's my father who's flying the plane, So I have complete shraddha in my father that he will take me home. So I don't have to get worried at all. So just such a, to me, the story is very powerful. And I just remembered this when we are talking about how even in material world, that complete dedication is needed in order for us to move ahead. And this is, we spoke about Elon Musk last time, how do people take risk? People can afford to take a lot of risk also if you have that shraddha. So shraddha is a very, very important quality from that point of view. And our spiritual faith actually needs a lot of that shraddha. For example, we just finished the Karma Yoga portion in chapters 1 to 6, right? Where, and not only in chapters 1 to 6, but even in chapter 8, we came across the aspect of reincarnation, and we talked about those 14 worlds and everything. How did people even, can we actually see these 14 worlds? We cannot see the 14 worlds, but yet this has been explained in the Vedas. How did that happen? It is actually because somebody who has purified the mind, who has such a clear thinking. So Shraddha is very important for improving our thinking. Shraddha is very important, like today's buzzwords, which is design thinking or critical thinking. All these, Shraddha is the one which really helps that. So here, I have this beautiful quote by Swami Chinmayananda. Faith, of course, is a quest on which writes the intellect of the seeker at the highest level of Vedanta. But, he says about, so faith is a belief in what we don't know, so that we may come to know what we believe in. It is a secret strength in the scientist and the explorer and all creative artists, without which they will not find any consistent enthusiasm in their continued search for the unknown. And that is very true. Anybody who joins for a PhD, for example, we are trying to find something for which I don't know. I have, perhaps it was my professor who told me, or perhaps it's something I read and I thought that this would be a meaningful contribution to science or to the world. So you start with that anchor. So he says, it's a secret power in all spiritual students with which they stream forward on their path of seeking the unknown and the unknowable. Without this faith born out of true understanding, no consistent spiritual sadhana is ever possible. So this is for a spiritual sadhana, but the same thing can also be led to a secular thing. But then we also know that in the material world, all these things are temporary. And at some point, when I develop the Shraddha very well, it becomes easy for me in spiritual life also to move ahead. So that's, so Shraddha, basically it comes from the word Shrat, which means truth, and Dha, which means to hold. So it is that ability to hold on to the truth. I want to seek the truth and nothing but the truth. When I have that kind of a goal for which I'm striving for, then it makes my effort very meaningful. So that should be the ultimate goal, and that is where this faith leads to. But so I just thought and this is, there you go. This is the shloka that Meena had quoted, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tatparaha sanyatendriyaha jnanam labdva param shantim achirenadi gacchati. So you can get that particular goal much faster. So therefore, someone has to have the Shraddha and faith. And I have a few more shlokas from other texts here, starting with the simplest of all the texts, which is Tattva Bodh. In Tattva Bodh, as part of the Sadhana Chatushtaya, this is, so the question is, Shraddha Kidrasi. What is Shraddha? The answer that is given is Guru Vedanta Vakeshu Vishwasaha Shraddha. So now, I never brought this aspect of teacher, but now I'm bringing the aspect of the teacher here in all these shlokas. So Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya, starts with saying that, of course, Guru Vedanta Vakeshu Vishwasaha Shraddha. One has to have that absolute faith in the teacher. So then, of course, the question comes is, who is my teacher? So it is that teacher on whom I have the Shraddha. When I have the Shraddha, then that teacher will be able to take me where I want to go. So the second one in Viveka Chudamani Shloka 25, which is an elaboration of the same Shraddha, he says, Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhya Vadharana Sa Shraddha Katita Sadbhihi Yaya Vastu Palabhyate. Here Vastu refers to the truth. And so he says that by which one understands the exact import of the scriptures. And again, this is a key word, exact import of the scriptures, Today, we are studying Gita, we are studying all the Upanishads and everything, but we are understanding it based upon my own mind. And our mind is actually clouded with things, judgments, which we have gathered over a period of time, right? So that is why sometimes we are unable to get it immediately. So he says that by which one understands the exact import. In order to understand the exact import, the purified mind is needed. So as well as the pregnant words of the advice of the teacher is called Shraddha. And by this alone does that Vastu or truth becomes very clear. So this is the thing from Viveka Chudamani. And then in Aproksha Anubhuti also, he talks about the same thing, which is Shraddha's implicit faith in the word of the scripture and the teacher. So that complete faith in the teacher, where the teacher is really helping the student progress. And like, for example, even for all this, right, without the Guru Parampara, we would never be able to really even understand these words of the scriptures. We would be spending our time only making millions and, enjoying life in the temporary world. But for the teachers who have come and taught us this knowledge. So that Shraddha is the most important thing. And Shraddha is, of course, the greatest. So the greatest wealth for a seeker is this aspect of Shraddha. It is that faith which actually comes if we put a lot of effort. We go to all these seminars on personal development, right? Now, if we can only put a lot of personal development efforts in developing the Shraddha, it can actually become the best friend for us and help us navigate through any kind of problems. So that is, Shraddha is that kind of a quality which really helps us. So any amount of effort we spend in developing Shraddha is actually really good for us. So I shared the shloka, this thing before also. It's the bird that feels, that feels alive even when the dawn is still dark. So that ability to know that things will be okay, even in the midst of the worst of crisis that anybody can go through. If I have the Shraddha that I will come out of this, that's the best quality. And for us, this Apaurushaya, our Vedas, I just explained about Karma Kanda, about reincarnation and everything. And Meena talked about Shraddham. where we do these tradition, where we have the tradition of offering our prayers to the departed souls. And in all this, our Sanatana Dharma is completely based on Paurushaya means, which is that which we can see, which is being told to us by people, but Apaurushaya is indicating that it is a knowledge of the universe. It is that knowledge we're trying to get to. It is not really told by one single person. And that is our Sanatana Dharma. So how can we develop any kind of faith in that? It's only through, having this intelligent understanding, inquiry, all that through this Shraddha. So that was, I just wanted to make sure that any more thoughts on Shraddha which I may have left out?
Thanks for doing so much research and coming and sharing with us. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. But I hope it wasn't confusing. I hope the right import of what Shraddha really means.
Oh, it was not confusing. We could learn a lot, actually. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll see.
So much effort you have put in to get this done.
No.
Wow. Thank you.
No, if we don't put effort in this, where else do we need to put the effort, right? So again and again, I always thank all of you. Because of you, it motivates me to study this and really understand. So I will see if I can put just a page or something and probably put it in the WhatsApp group on this aspect of Shraddha, because it's very important, this blind faith blind belief versus faith. Many people say that faith is blind, but it is not. It is actually thinking through things and also understanding that the knowledge, what we're trying to gain, will not lead to a result which can be seen by our five senses.
Sometimes we say, have full faith in God, right? So, do you mean to say that is with understanding we should have faith in God, or we just put just faith in God, blindly we believe in God? Is there a difference between both?
Well, both are needed, I will say. I know it sounds, after having spoken so much, why am I saying this, right? It starts initially with a blind faith, okay? And then that blind faith, when I start to contemplate upon, and I start to not question in the sense of doubting, but questioning in the sense of strengthening my understanding, that blind belief then changes over to faith, Shraddha. A simple thing, but then the key thing on this one is the teacher. I start with having a blind belief in this teacher, and knowing that that teacher is going to lead me in the path, knowing that that teacher will be there to help me with my doubts, for clarification of my doubts and everything. So that is a very important thing, and that is why those 3 shlokas which I shared from Vivek Chudamani, Tattva Bodh, and also Aparoksha Anubhuti are very important. That faith in that teacher is important. So a simple thing I can give you is, we know that when a child, a baby, I was just in Chennai, I was watching my my niece's son, so my grandchild, right? Son, you may say. And you all can relate to that too. All of you have grandchildren. When you see that 1-year-old, he has so much of faith in his mommy. There is nothing. Do you call that Shraddha at that point? It's actually blind belief, right? But very soon he starts to question, Mommy, why is this? Why is that? And then Mommy better be smart on this one. Grandmother have to be smart and study and learn and and so sometimes you have to thank your grandchildren to make you smarter because you don't want to disappoint him. You don't, because that the minute you give him a wrong answer, he's going to go away from you, right? So you can see he's taken you as a teacher, and me as a teacher now have to be completely, what should I say, completely smart enough to explain to this student. And this is exactly what is happening over here too. Not that Krishna was not smart, right? How did Arjuna develop that Shraddha towards his teacher? How did he have his mind, which was so pure? It was only because Krishna kept giving him the answers which he could relate to. So he slowly started even changing the respect from being a friend to somebody he started revering so much, So in fact, I know, sorry, the Shraddha took a long time today and it's already 3 minutes more left. But you will see in shlokas 4 and 5, when we go deeper into it, Krishna will be telling Arjuna, I am in everything. Now, how can Arjuna develop that kind of faith in him? Here, he's seeing Krishna as a physical entity in front of him. But Krishna is saying, I am there in everything, And then, of course, Krishna will explain. And of course, when Krishna explains, we will not understand. And then we need all our gurus to boil it down to a point where I will be able to relate to it. So those shlokas 4, 5, and 6 are so powerful, You will see how this knowledge, with the Shraddha, you'd be able to grasp what it is. But if you didn't have the Shraddha, those words, we may just read it, but we won't even think more about it. Yeah. So that's why in shloka 4 onwards, you will see that, he will start to say that Krishna, is actually pervading everything, So where does he come from, Why is he saying this? So then we understand it's from a relative standpoint. Then he says, Krishna is telling Arjuna, see, look at me. I'm the one who is in everything, How is that possible? So we will see a lot of examples. Actually, I have built this in many examples, and we will see. Then in the last one, so he will confuse. Actually, in just these 3 shlokas, you will see how Krishna will say something first, which itself is very difficult to understand. What do you mean by pervade everything, right? Then by the end of the 6th shloka, he finally says that, I pervade everything, but I'm not really there in them, So we are going to understand that 3 statements. So next week, maybe now we are done with Shraddha. We have Shraddha in what Krishna is going to say. And we will try to understand very carefully from, like I said, I have all these things. And we will discuss that next week. Otherwise, I don't want to start something and just leave it hanging, but think about it also on yourself. And so any other last thoughts before we sign off?
But it's not correct to say blind faith in God, correct?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think that's the most beautiful thing about our Sanatana Dharma is it does not ask you to have the blind belief in God. There's a whole bunch, the logic, and that is where
there's no meaning at all.
Yes. Everything is very, very logical. For those of us who want that logic, or for those of us who do have some doubts about is there really God, and this thing is, like, as I said earlier, Shraddha is the only quality that helps us get through crisis. When certain things happen to me and say, why me? Why is only my family affected by this? It's only this quality of Shraddha that allows me to understand that whatever is happening to me is not really happening to me as as my core being, but it is happening to this identity that I've taken up, which is Sunita. And that Sunita will keep going from one birth to another. That Sunita is taking up different roles. And in many different roles, Sunita would have been part of some things which Sunita is undergoing the consequences. So those kind of things really helps us understand because of Shraddha. Yeah.
Very, very powerful word, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Anand.
Thanks for explaining in detail about Shraddha. In Bhagavad Gita also is a detailed, pretty much like a chapter. Shraddhava labhate jnanam. So, yeah, that's all the basic thing that's required. Like when you have faith in the Guru, then only you will learn.
Exactly. That complete dedication, going back to Gita's word, dedication is needed.
With understanding.
With understanding. Exactly. We have to constantly tell ourselves with understanding and to question. And Gita, that is why I love your questioning, So keep questioning and keep thinking about it also, doing the mananam part of it, Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we meet next week. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyat dukkha bhag bhaved. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om purnamadav purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate. Purnasya purnamadaya purnameva vashishyate. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you, Sunita ji.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful explanations, ma'am.
Thank you.